Is Nigeria not a sovereign nation? Can another nation just offer help unsolicited?
No. Nigeria has consistently sought for United States help. In fact, in 2014, Nigerian opposition party, then the APC, were in the White House seeking for the same help on the same Christian genocide as a fallout of the Chibok girls. This is established. The second thing again is that even most recently, we acquired $346 million worth of weaponry from the US, and we are trying to send our military personnel to go and train as a factor of diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and the US. And US has been consistently, in addition to other partners, listed as supporting countries to help us in eradication of terrorism. And don't forget, it is a United Nations Convention on Counterterrorism that empowers the United States to become the global front or focal point in fighting against terrorism. And wherever a word terrorism was defined in a given area, that means US have right to protect. They call it a responsibility to protect R2P. They have right to invoke that R2P to get into that country and destroy that terrorism. Yeah. So what we should show in our own case in Nigeria is that we should show commitment and willingness to partner to eliminate the threat of terrorism, not completely condemn a hand that is coming to help us and then put a motion forward. We can negotiate with them. We can tell them, give us the weapons responsibly. We can discuss with them and acknowledge that this genocide is taking place. Yes, they say Christian genocide. Now we can justify to them that, look, it's not only genocide, it's not only Christians, Muslims also are affected.
But do you agree with the categorization that it's a genocide?
I actually, when I look at the damages, when you look at the total number of the people that have been killed over time in Nigeria, and they are killed defenseless in villages, sleeping in their homes, then what can you call this, for God's sake?
You think there's a genocide?
I think it's actually pure genocide, because you just come and kill people, just like that. And this thing has been happening. Several villages in Katsina destroyed, several villages in Sokoto gone, several villages in Zamfara every day.
If you have to zoom,
when you look at the core issue that triggers the so-called Christian genocide was because Christians were the ones that made the report. Had the Muslim done the same thing, it could have been that they will also include Muslim genocide, Christian and Muslim genocide, but Muslim organization didn't go to report it. And that's basically where the issue is. And on China coming on board is just a factor of strategic rivalry. Wherever US goes to the west, China will naturally go to the east. But it has no any bearing upon the stand of the United States when they want to project their national interests. You've seen it historically. China opposed invasion of Afghanistan. It doesn't stop the United States from staying there for 20 years. Similarly, in Iraq, it doesn't stop them. In fact, most recently, the biggest, most strategic ally of China in the Central Asia is Iran. China vehemently, strongly stopped Trump or the US from invading Iran for whatever reason. Yet, Trump bombed Iranian nuclear facility and nothing, they did nothing, absolutely. Look at Gaza. China was strongly against the genocide in Gaza, but they couldn't do nothing. So it's just strategic rivalry. So anybody that is thinking that if China is talking, it's like China is coming to fight on our behalf, should US decide to invade Nigeria, it's just making a maybe very...
You think this is a symbolic show of support and nothing more?
It's just symbolic show of support. When you look at the Chinese policy globally, you will see that their response in Nigeria was purely out of strategic rivalry. It has no any basis in action. So should US decide to do anything, China will only issue strong press statements, and then strong worded diplomatic messages, but yet do nothing. That's what it is. So we don't begin to see this as somebody that is coming to back us. Nigeria needs to get its foreign policy acts together. The truth of the matter is, this government's foreign policy, as I mentioned earlier in one of my writings, is the laziest we have seen in the history of Nigeria. There is no activity. And any country that you don't send foreign representation in form of ambassadors, it's like you are rebuting them. It's like you don't recognize their sovereignty. And
you think if we had an ambassador in the United States, things would have turned out differently?
It would have been turned out, because this issue didn't start now. It started building up since February 2025. The US delegation, like from the Congress, came to Nigeria 3 times to investigate and make fact findings. They were in many places in Plateau and Benue. Plateau and Benue. Although I saw some people are saying that they didn't go to Zamfara, but the people that invited them were the people of Benue and Plateau. Why didn't the Zamfara people and the Sokoto people and the Katsina people also go and invite them? They didn't do that. So they came on fact-finding mission. You don't have a foreign representation in that country. You don't have any intelligence to understand that this is actually what is likely going to happen. You now start a fire brigade approach after we have already been listed as a CPC, country of particular concern. So that you are just reactionary, because you are supposed to proactively respond to this and prevent the listing in the first place. The fact that we are listed as CPC means that they have already built
we're
their
recommended.
case.
I don't think they've finalized the process yet.
Yes, in fact, the process was there. They sat today, they will sit tomorrow, they will sit next tomorrow. It's likely that by Friday they will pass.
You think it's a foregone conclusion?
It's a foregone conclusion.
But what do you make about the merit of the argument? Because you hear from ECOWAS, you hear from the National Assembly, you hear the federal government's response, you hear from the Chief of Defense Staff who say, listen, we have a security challenge. We do not have a genocide to deal with in this particular country. Why do you think this tag of genocide continues to stir such emotional reaction from people? Because Nigerians are divided between those who believe there's a genocide and those who categorically think it's an overstatement to say there's a genocide.
The truth of the matter is, the US president did not specifically mention genocide in his words. He said existential threat, that the Christians have existential threat in Nigeria.